I'm O.W. Root, and this is Pleasant Peninsula. There's two kinds of snow. First, there's that wet, heavy, thick snow. Those big flakes, they come down right around 31 degrees, 30, 29. It stacks up high, it's slush all over the road. It's beautiful when you look out your window and you see that big, thick snow. It's beautiful in a kind of a magical way. It's a beautiful, dreamy sort of scene, really. Then there's a second kind of snow. It's the frigid snow, the frozen snow. It's 19 degrees, 18, 17, 16, 15, and even lower. It's the snow that falls right around that point. It's fine. It's dust-like. It's frozen. It blows in the wind and it whips across drifts. It's not good for packing. It's not good for making snowmen. It's not good for snowballs, but it's great for sledding. We've received a lot of that snow and that weather for the past few days. That bitter wind, that harsh wind, 30 mile per hour. And that fine snow blowing across the field. There's a beauty to it. It's not beautiful like a dream, like some fantasy. It's beautiful in an oppressive way. That sounds strange to say, an oppressive kind of beauty, but it is. It's frozen tundra. I was standing on the edge of this field. I saw all the brush blown over, the grass brown, and I see in the distance, and I can see some houses, and I can see some woods, and it's all faded behind that wall of fine dust blown across the land. It's almost like fog. It's like a winter fog. There's something beautiful in that, and I think that in winter we have to dig to find the beauty. Often it's not as obvious to us. There is a meaning in that scene. It's not dreamlike. It's not soft and sensitive. It's harsh and barren. There's something beautiful even in that. The Mackinaw jacket. What is the Mackinaw jacket? Do you know the Mackinaw jacket? Well, you might not know the name Mackinaw jacket, but you do know the look. It's a chore coat, 4 pockets, 2 up top to hold whatever you want, 2 down below to put your hands in. A little longer than your belt, should drop below the belt. It's not like a Harrington jacket. It's got a little length to it. Thick, heavy wool. A proper Mackinaw jacket is not for the summer. It's not thin, fine material that's breathable for the sun. It should protect you from the elements. It should be like a pea coat, basically. It can really carry you deep into autumn and even on a warmer winter's day. And you can find a Mackinaw jacket in a bunch of different colors. You can find it in navy, you can find it in green, you can find it in a whole bunch of different solid colors. But the most iconic Mackinaw jacket is black and red tartan. That's the look. And that is the iconic look that you know, even if you don't know, you know it. Picture it. Black and red tartan, thick jacket thrown over a sweater in the fall, collar, 4 pockets. You can imagine that, right? That's Michigan incarnate. And this name, Mackinaw jacket, you might say, why is it called a Mackinaw jacket? Well, it's not just a marketing ploy. It's not something that someone came up with 5 years ago. They said, hey, this is a cool sounding name, Mackinaw. Let's just name the jacket Mackinaw jacket. No, it actually has this incredible history from the 1800s, early 1800s. This jacket was originally made from the British Army. They didn't have their standard issue coats. And so basically they had to make do, and they ordered these blankets, this material, and they had them made into coats. And the classic black and red tartan ended up becoming the Mackinaw jacket. And this is way back in the early 1800s. This is more than 200 years old at this point. And now the Mackinaw jacket evolved over time. It doesn't look exactly the same today as it did then, but the lineage is there, and it's still the same jacket. Things evolve, but you can tell when it's traced back to the source. And that is incredible. I mean, think about that. You don't think about Michigan as being a hub of style or sartorial innovation. That's just not what comes to mind. But this jacket, this really practical, classic jacket, chore coat, I mean, every guy needs a chore coat, comes from Michigan. It has this deep history, this 2-century-old history. And why is this Michigan incarnate? Why is this jacket Michigan incarnate? Because it's not a fine silk garment. It's not fine tailoring for the city. It's a rough jacket to protect you from the elements when you're outside working, in the garage, on a walk, in the back doing yard work. It's utilitarian. It's practical. It is Michigan. It really is a garment which it would be hard to think of a garment that suits or embodies a certain kind of Michigan ethos on the edge of civilization. And especially think about back then in the early 1800s. I mean, imagine being up near Mackinaw in the early 1800s. That takes some guts to do. That's not an easy way to live. And that's where this jacket comes from. And I love that history. And I love that if you live in Michigan today and you're a guy, you should own this, by the way. Of course you should. When you do own this and you do wear it and you do use it, it's not using it as some sort of gimmick. It's a fantastic jacket. It's something you can wear almost every day once it gets a little chilly in the autumn. Throw it on. I mean, it's so easy to wear. What I love about this is that it's bridging and bringing together so many things in a natural and organic way. Style, utility, practicality, and history and culture. Because clothing is culture, and it reflects something about where we live, what we do, how we live. And that's the beautiful thing about the Mackinaw jacket, is that it brings all that together in one. And if you're a Michigan man, if you live in Michigan, there's no reason for you to wear any other chore coat. Don't buy another chore coat that any guy could wear anywhere. No, you got to buy a Mackinaw jacket, and you have to go with the red and black tartan. They make all the other colors, but no, the red and black tartan is the classic, iconic thing. And if you're a Michigan man, that's what you need. Next, I want to take a look at a reel from our Instagram. So let's roll that.
As a newly transplanted UP resident, I figure I better get to working on earning my Yooper title. In the meantime, I need to figure out what they eat.
Pasties and hearty food.
Venison and pasties. Yoopers usually eat pasties, venison. That's about it.
A friend of mine sent me her pasty recipe, and there are 2 key things that you ought to know. Lard is important, and you need to make the dough ahead of time. The next day is pasty making time. You need potatoes, rutabaga, and carrots, and a ground meat of choice. We just butchered a hog, so that's what I'm using. Mix the chopped vegetables, ground meat, and salt and pepper to taste, and a little bit of garlic powder if you're feeling fancy. The pasty originally came to Michigan through the Cornish miners in the 1800s during the copper rush. These handheld patties are hearty and easy to carry for a 12-hour work shift in the mines. Later, the Finnish joined the migration to the Upper Peninsula and added the rutabaga to the recipe. Many UP residents have been using the same recipe that have been passed on for generations. It's a simple meal that doesn't have complicated flavors, but it packs high protein and complex carbs to keep the rugged Michigander full and warm in the cooler months. After you assemble the pasties, cook them at 350 degrees for 1 hour. Once they cool, wrap them in tin foil. I found that 15 minutes warmed up on the buddy heater makes for a delicious blind meal.
What is culture? Is culture something that you can just consume or buy? You can just watch and passively let wash over you? No. Sometimes in our consumerist age, we think it is. We think that we can just be passive observers in culture. But no, that's not how it works. We're active participants in culture. A culture is kept alive, or a culture exists because we do it, because we act it out, because we play a part and play a role. And that's what that reel's about. That reel is about a new Yooper, a transplant to the UP, embracing UP culture and UP food, Yooper food, and making pasties. And getting the recipe from her friend, who I assume is a Yooper, and acting out that culture. I mean, when you think of pasties, you think of the UP, and you think of it because that's where people eat the pasties. That's where people make the pasties. But if people stopped making the pasties, there would be no more pasties. And would it would it be Upper food anymore? No. You have to act it out. You have to be a participant. And what you participate in is the culture you're a part of. There are no observers on the outside, really. It's all what you do. And I love that story because it's an example of that. And because in our day and age, I know a lot of people struggle with starting traditions or participating in a culture, in the culture where they are from or what they're of, because it doesn't feel authentic, because maybe they didn't grow up doing it, or maybe they, for whatever reason, it just doesn't feel as authentic to them because their grandparents didn't do it, or their great grandparents, or whatever. They moved to a new place. But every tradition starts somewhere. Every culture starts somewhere. Everything, every act begins some year and some day. So if you want to be a part of it, do it. Just like Savannah wants to be a part of Upper culture. She wants to be a part of the UP where she lives. So she's making the pasties. And I love that reel because it's about action, not just sitting back and consuming or being a passive observer, being an active participant in culture. I'm O.W. Root from Michigan Enjoyer.